Good morning, good evening, good night. No matter where you are on this planet, I'm sending you love and light. Check me out. Typically, lately, I've been doing a lot more writing and journaling before I hit the camera. A lot of my old work on TikTok was just freestyle spirit. Not necessarily. It was more so meditative practices, spiritual inclinations, and then I would go straight to the phone versus jotting down what I'm hearing in my head. So lately, when I go into the meditative space, I will write down what I retrieve versus freestyling and maybe stumbling or leaving out very important aspects of the content I was trying to project out into the world. So moving past all of that, I want to talk about how life, becoming enlightened, becoming conscious, it's not about learning new shit. It's really just about unlearning everything that you've been programmed to believe in and think. It's unlearning limitations, bro. It's unlearning trauma and blockages, right? When Jesus is showing people the path to get home, right? For example, all of these spiritual belief systems that are of good nature, all of these religious systems that are of good nature, they are all geared towards the same outcome, which is the alleviation of suffering on planet Earth and its people, right? Which is all of us. Having said that, because there is an antagonist force here, and you can see that. But anyway, the point I'm making is this. Jesus, for example, was trying to teach people how to find themselves, how to overcome their own demons, right? But also, that's what we call it, some people call them the jinn. You know what I mean? You got Egyptian lore, different gods and entities, aliens. I guess you I don't know. It depends on what you resonate with. But the long and short of it is whatever your reservation is and whatever you identify the antagonist as, it can be overcome. And that's the whole point that Jesus was trying to make. But also deeper than that, or just as deep as that, he was teaching you how to unburden yourself. So that's really one of the biggest takeaways behind the practice. Any practice that helps you become your higher self. It's you unburden yourself. You become unchained. You become untethered to the carnal mind, to the reptilian brain, bro. You take off limitation, bro. And when you can take off these shackles and these weights that's on your shoulders, in your mind, in your heart, in your soul, right, in your spirit, when you can take them off, you're able to see life a little bit differently, and your walk through life is definitely going to be a little bit different from an easy perspective. In terms of some of the trials and tribulations that somebody who's not aware might go through, a conscious person, they're not going to commit to certain actions that give them bad karma and keep them stuck in certain cycles and synchronicity. So, Jesus really had some very important takeaways. And in terms of just making it back to heaven, how do you make it back to heaven? The Egyptians believed that in order to transcend, your heart had to be as light as a feather, right? Like you needed a heart of gold, so you needed to be pure, and you needed to be as light as a feather, right? In order to move up the chain in terms of life and its creations. Like if you really want to evolve and go to the next stage, you can't have things weighing you down. So in order to become like that, you have to unburden yourself. You have to actually take things out of you that don't benefit you, bro. And that's one of the hardest things, because one of the things that we do as people is justify holding on to them. Straight up. And it's our ego, it's our pride, it's our lack of education, it's our lack of spiritual knowledge and awareness to where you're not thinking clear enough. So you're operating out of this subconscious suppressed trauma that's tethered to these emotions and distorting your present conscious perception 24/7 unless you go through certain practices or get therapy or something that can help you see things differently for what it actually is. Life is just an illusion, and it's very easy to create an echo chamber where you reinforce a negative illusion it's the furthest thing from what reality is and what it could be. Don't fall for the mind game. This is a matrix mind trap, bro. Trauma, the lack of spiritual awareness, these things are matrix mind traps, because automatically you're born into a lack of spiritual awareness, and automatically birth itself is traumatic. But now you got to think, all of our lives have come with something that it served as a detriment to us, but it doesn't have to serve as a detriment to our lives. At those times, there might have been some debt there. It might have put us in the red, put us in the negative, right? In our emotions, in our feels, in our spirit. Death of a family, death of a child, loss of a company. I don't know, something major, something that just crushes you, right? But it can be overcome, and it doesn't have to become us. And you just got to go into the dwelling place. So if you really want to make it up to heaven, which is everywhere, really the ladder is inside of your mind. You got to climb out of hell. The hell is inside of your mind. So if you, like, seriously, if you really want to make it up to heaven, bro, as far as I can tell, we all have to alleviate ourselves of our own suffering and the suffering that we cause onto other people and our justifications and our egos, bro. Our justification for evils, right? And sanctimonious platitudes that reinforce the notion that just because you're not doing a certain form of evil, that you might still make it into those pearly gates. That is not always the case, but just because you don't do one thing don't mean the thing that you're doing ain't good enough to send you to hell. And I mean this not from a religious context, just in your life and maybe even your afterlife. But I'm not saying that it's going to be a hell of the Bible. It could just be how you reincarnate. Whatever the case, I'm not going to make this video super long. I just want y'all to think about the things that I've given you today. If it's worth anything at all to you, good. If not, I'm going to keep digging for gold in this mind of mine and giving y'all a healthy perspective that I pray and believe actually can help people and benefit this planet. So I'm going to end this with my mantra. Good morning, good evening, good night. No matter where you are on this planet, I'm sending you love and light. I'm gone.